everyone, welcome to one of our new videos that we'll be putting out on our YouTube video, our Instagram. We'll be talking about winter ecology. Now, we're going to break it into a few different sections, so please keep your eyes out for some more videos that'll be coming your way. First, we're going to talk about what makes winter so hard to survive. We talk a lot about adaptations, but what are animals actually adapting to? Later on, we'll talk about what those adaptations actually are. And then finally, we'll have a video all about how to identify different tracks that animals have made in the snow. But we're going to start off with identifying those main difficult features that make winter hard to survive. So winter really does impact all of an animal's basic needs. Water is harder to access. It has low bioavailability. A lot of plants aren't able to actually draw water up because it is frozen, and you can't get to the non-frozen water, the liquid water, because it's underneath the frozen layer. Now, food is also scarce. A predator's prey might have migrated. It might be staying dormant or pretty hidden, or if they are eating plants, that their food might just not be growing. Shelter becomes either more or less accessible, and it can be very weather dependent. So when we get those Chinooks rolling in, as you guys saw probably pretty recently, a lot of the snow melted. And so the snow was acting as a shelter for a lot of creatures. So now that it's melted, shelter is actually less available. In other instances, it's more available when that big snowfall has fallen, and we've got all the little critters running around at the bottom of the snowpack. It's a lot harder for their prey to find them. Now, the temperature, of course, is the one that we often sympathize with, because step of that door when we had that -35 bit of weather there, you really feel it. So temperature is one that a lot of animals have adaptations to as well. So we'll be talking a little bit more about these, but one that often gets forgotten is movement. So snow, whoa, there we go. We're back. I think we're back. We're back. So snow makes it incredibly challenging to move around. A lot of animals will actually change their movement patterns because the snow is so difficult. It costs them so much energy to move through it. Other animals have really incredible adaptations to make sure they can move through the snow or over top of the snow or underneath the snow. But that snow really makes a huge difference for how animals are able to survive. Now, these adaptations or these challenges have also been given a bit of a nickname. There's a winter ecologist, James Halfpenny, who refers to these as the screw factors. So snow, cold, radiation, energy, and wind. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a ski goggle tan or a sunburn in the winter. If you've ever seen those goggles that have the blinders on the side, those are the glacier travel goggles. All of those are because the snow reflects back the light that's coming down on it, and it can increase the radiation that animals do experience when they're out in the winter. Of course, we've already gone over that snow affecting movement, temperature, how cold it is. Of course, you're going to be spending a lot more energy to keep your body temperature up. And then the wind will pull away any heat that you do make, so you really have to stay out of the wind as well. So these are the really critical features of the abiotic environment. So that's the non-living environment that all these animals in winter have to deal with. Now, what exactly causes winter is that the Earth is rotating, but the axis it rotates on is actually tilted. So as it rotates, there's one side that is leaning further away from the sun. And then as that moves around the sun, how distant that side is from the sun will change. So at one point we're at winter in the northern hemisphere, and as it rotates around, now that side that was leaning away is now leaning towards the sun. So that would be summer in that hemisphere. But this doesn't just affect how much sun we get. right? Our photo period, how long our day is. And we know that when winter rolls around, we start seeing the sun setting at 4, right? And it can be really, really challenging to deal with that reduced photo period, that shorter day. But the other impact is that the insulation actually changes. And so because that light is coming over, this is being spread over this bigger distance, this bigger area, um, the light itself is less intense. You can kind of see in this image here how that the light would be spread out on those more northern regions or more southern regions when they're on the other side. And towards the equator, that light would be more intense. All right. Now, there's a couple of different techniques that animals will employ to help survive winter. So, the first one is that they leave. They don't want to deal with it. They're going to get out of here. And they will migrate to another location. The second would be hibernation or dormancy, going through a period of torpor. Hibernation is a type of torpor, a state of dormancy. And finally, they can be resistant or tolerant to winter, so they're staying active throughout the winter. They have adaptations that help them remain active and continue to survive through the winter, tolerating it. Now, I've been mentioning adaptations a whole bunch, but what exactly is that? Well, adaptations are structures or behaviors that help an organism survive. So for a structure, you could think of a snowshoe hare with all the white fur on it. And that white fur is a physical adaptation that allows it to camouflage and blend in with the snow. And you could also think of, for a behavior that an animal might have, a bear going into hibernation for the winter, it's reducing its need for food over the winter because it's lowering its metabolic speed. And so because of that, it can stand this period of time where the food is less available until that food becomes available once again. Now, there is another way we can actually categorize our winter animals, and these are some pretty fun terms. You can throw them around. Now, Kion is actually Greek for snow, and I'm sure you've heard of phobias before. So a chionophobe is a snow fearer. A chionophore is a snow tolerator. They deal with it, but they don't hate it. And then finally we have our chionophiles, right? Snow lovers. Now, you can kind of see in these images a couple of creatures that we could categorize. Now, you will not find a chionophobe in a winter-dominated habitat unless a human brings it there. So this palm tree, for example, it's not going to be found anywhere here in Alberta. It's much too cold for a palm tree. However, in the middle there, we do have a little vole. And we do have voles that live here year-round. This vole isn't really well adapted for the winter in the sense that it doesn't have a big furry coat. It doesn't go dormant over the winter. However, it tolerates it. Now, they kind of sustain themselves over the winter, but they don't thrive in that snowy conditions. And then finally, we see on the right here, with their big furry coats, our chionophiles. And these mountain goats, they have very specific adaptations for snow. And this allows them to really love those conditions. This is where they thrive. They live in a region that's dominated by snow. Now, this terminology refers almost purely to their adaptations to snow. It doesn't refer to an animal's adaptations to winter. So if an animal adapts to winter by migrating away, which is a very good adaptation, they don't actually have adaptations for winter conditions, for the snow or cold. So they are adapted for winter by leaving it, but you would not call them cheonophiles. For example, we do have hummingbirds that live here in Alberta, and they migrate away. So they are not cheonophiles. Now, many animals will employ both physical and behavioral adaptations to survive winter or to avoid winter. But that's where we're going to stop for today. I hope you all learned a lot about some of the conditions that make winter really challenging to survive. And I hope you check out our next video where you're going to have a chance to learn all about some of those adaptations we've been talking about, how animals actually are physically adapted or behaviorally adapted to get through the winter. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye.